Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we invite you to leave behind the weight of your day to let your thoughts float gently backward through time. As your body rests, your mind will drift across the still waters of a distant lake, where the city of Tenochtitlan once shimmered in the dawn mist like a dream of stone and sky. You're safe here in the quiet folds of history, where the past speaks not in shouts but in whispers. Our journey will be long but gentle, a slow immersion into the daily rhythms, mysteries, and memories of a civilization that once flourished at the heart of a vast and humming world. So find a comfortable position, let your breathing deepen, and imagine, if you will, a low morning fog rising over calm waters, broken only by the distant splash of the paddle. We begin in the damp, fertile fields of the chinampas. Why you wouldn't last a day as an Aztec chinampa farmer and more. Imagine yourself waking just before dawn in a modest hut made of woven reeds and adobe, its roof thatched with dried grasses. The air is still heavy from the night, thick with the scent of damp earth and the faint tang of smoke from last evening's hearth fire. You sit up slowly, wrapped in a rough caiman fur shawl, and step outside. The ground is soft beneath your feet. Dew clings to the edges of narrow causeways that stretch across the shallows of Lake Texcoco. You are among the chinampas' floating fields, though they do not truly float. These are hand-built plots of land, rich with lake-bottom mud and tightly woven reeds, staked into place with willow trees. Each chinampa is long and rectangular, a green patchwork suspended between water channels. They are the lifeblood of the city. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting a pale gold across the water. The first sounds are quiet and close, the hum of dragonflies, the creak of wooden paddles, the faint groan of wet wood shifting. You join the small procession of farmers boarding shallow dugout canoes, the splash of their paddles rhythmic, steady. Today, like every day, the work begins early. You wade into the shallows, cool water slipping past your calves. Your feet sink gently into mud, warm and thick, as you reach the nearest chinampa. There is maize to tend today. The stalks are tall and rough, their yellow silk catching the sun. You begin with the slicing. With a curved obsidian blade, you sever the dried tops of the older plants. Each motion is careful, repetitive, not rushed. Never rushed. Between the rows, you stoop to scatter beans, small, precious, hardy. The rhythm of this work is steady, ancient. The cycles of planting and harvesting follow the same quiet drumbeat of sun and season. Mosquitoes flit in lazy clouds, indifferent to your presence. Gnats cling to your skin, drawn by the salt of your sweat. There are no gloves, no boots, no break from the midday heat that slowly builds. But there is water, You pause to drink from a hollowed gourd, the liquid cool and tinged with maize. By mid-morning, the air grows thick with heat. You rest briefly beneath a shade of woven reeds, sitting on a damp mat. In your hand, a tamal wrapped in banana leaf, still warm from the coals that cooked it before sunrise. The filling is simple beans, perhaps a bit of ground squash, and the soft sting of chili paste that tingles your lips. A drink of atol follows, thick and faintly sweet with fermented maize. There is little talking. Voices carry easily across the water, and the lake is never silent. Distant calls from other farmers, the occasional cry of a heron, the constant drone of insects. In the afternoon, you turn to the tilting rafts. These are small floating platforms tethered to the chinampas, used for carrying harvester tools. One raft has overturned in the night, and you are tasked with righting it. The wood is waterlogged and heavy, the rope fibers rough against your palms. It takes time, patience, and more strength than you thought you had. As the sun dips westward, you gather your harvest, a basket of maize, some squash, handfuls of herbs, and load them onto the canoe. The return journey is quiet. You paddle slowly. Behind you, the chinampas shimmer in the low light, orderly and green. Evening falls as you reach the edge of the village. The air smells of tamales steaming in many hearths, mingling with the smoke of cedar and sage. You eat simply. You sleep early, and you rise again before the sun. The rhythm of their lives was steady, unchanging, and deeply bound to the lake and the earth beneath their feet. So ends our day among the chinampas. Soon, we turn to the palace, where power weighed heavier than mud, and decisions shaped empires. Let us now drift slowly to a time of conquest and confusion, the troubled reign of Moctezuma II. The conquest campaign of Moctezuma II. Now, imagine yourself standing at the edge of the great plaza in Tenochtitlan. It is no longer the muddy hush of the chinampa fields. Instead, the ground beneath your sandals is polished stone, warm in the midday sun. The smell is different here, copal incense from temple altars, crushed flowers scattered by priests, the occasional scent of blood carried on the breeze from distant rituals. The city pulses with grandeur and power. Moctezuma Xocoyotzin, known to many simply as Moctezuma II, rules from the heart of this empire. His palace is vast with hundreds of rooms, each one a quiet echo chamber of authority. He is not simply a king. He is the Tlatoani, the one who speaks, a conduit between gods and men. His words bear the weight of celestial meaning. His early reign is filled with calculated strength. He consolidates power through alliances, choosing marriages not for love, but for politics. Daughters of noble houses from across the Valley of Mexico, are brought to the palace. In unhurried rituals, these unions cement loyalties and ensure tribute. Moctezuma strengthens trade routes, reforms the tax system, and builds new temples to reaffirm the god's favor. And yet, from the very beginning, his rule is marked by omens. Strange lights in the sky, towers struck by invisible fire, a weeping woman's voice drifting along the causeways at night, the priest's whisper of warnings. Then, in the year 1519, messengers arrive with word of pale men, bearded and armored, arriving on the eastern shore. They ride animals never seen before. Their weapons flash and roar. They come in ships that glide like temples upon the sea. Moctezuma receives these reports in his audience chamber barefoot, draped in finery, surrounded by priests and scribes. He listens, asks questions, and then quietly he retreats. He does not react with violence. Instead, he sends gifts. Feathers, gold, and food are offered to Hernan Courts and his men, a greeting and a warning. To Moctezuma, these strangers may be gods or messengers of gods. There is a prophecy, after all, of the return of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. And Quartz arrives from the east, the sacred direction. As the Spanish draw closer, Moctezuma's indecision grows. He dispatches envoys, offers further gifts. He prepares the city, but not for war. He prepares for reverence. And then the unthinkable. The Spanish, with their native allies, march into the city. Moctezuma welcomes them into the palace, seats them at his table. In the carved stone halls of the royal complex, foreign boots echo. The city holds its breath. Soon, Moctezuma is no longer Tlatoani in truth. The Spanish take him hostage, use his name to issue commands. The once feared ruler now speaks through others, his eyes no longer lifted in command, but lowered. Tension rises. During a religious festival, Spanish soldiers massacre dancers and priests. The city erupts. Stones fly, spears rise. Smoke coils. Moctezuma appears on the palace wall, asked to calm the people, but his voice no longer holds power. They turn on him, some say with stones, others say with silence. He dies not long after. The manner of his death is disputed. Spanish accounts speak of wounds from his own people. Aztec sources suggest darker truths. The palace is stormed. The Spanish flee the city in chaos, many drowning in the canals, weighed down by stolen gold. But they return. With reinforcements, with siege engines, and with smallpox already sowing its quiet devastation, Tenochtitlan falls. The great causeways burn. Temples crumble. Canals run dark. But in our telling, we pause here not in violence, but in reflection. The city, once filled with voices, is now quiet. and below its ruins, secrets still remain. We shall now descend, not in conquest, but in curiosity, beneath the Templo Mayor into waters and offerings left untouched for centuries. The mystery of the sunken offerings beneath the Templo Mayor. Now, let your mind drift downward, below the stone pavements and crumbling steps of the once great Templo Mayor, into the cool, still shadows where light does not reach. There, beneath the towering pyramids, the city's ancient heart continues to whisper. These are not voices of the living, but echoes left behind in ritual, in clay, and bone. The Spanish may have raised the temples, but they could not erase the layers hidden beneath. In modern times, archaeologists, quiet custodians of memory, began to peel away the surface of Mexico City to reveal what lay entombed. It begins with a shaft, narrow, moist with subterranean damp, descending into a chamber flooded by time and the lake's persistence. Divers, carefully suited, slide into the darkness, their lights slicing through silt-thick water. What they retrieve are not treasures in the usual sense, but stories. A jade mask, smooth and cold, carved with wide eyes and a half smile. Nearby, tiny ceramic vessels, their rims charred from incense. A blade fashioned of obsidian, its surface etched with glyphs not yet fully translated, glyphs that hum with forgotten intent. Carbon dating reveals their age. These offerings span centuries, carefully layered, each one placed with reverence into water-filled cavities beneath the temple. Here were gifts to the gods of rain, of sun, of war. Here were signs of human devotion and of human sacrifice. Skulls appear too, but quietly now, let us not dwell. They are marked, yes. Filed teeth, painted faces, arranged with seashells and flower beads. Each one tells of ritual, not violence. Ceremony, not chaos. One chamber yields a cluster of hummingbird bones. Dozens, perhaps hundreds. So delicate, so precise. The hummingbird, after all, was sacred to Huitzilopochtli, the sun and war god. Were these birds offerings, or symbols, or both? Then there are the shells, collected from distant coasts, proof of a vast trade network of rivers and hands and journeys. They lie beside rubber balls, obsidian mirrors, bundles of copal still faintly scented after 500 years. Deeper still, archaeologists find something unexpected. A sealed chamber, its walls lined with smooth black stone obsidian slabs that reflect torchlight like water. Oral histories had whispered of it. A mirror room where priests saw visions. Here some say the priests looked for answers. Others say they offered questions. No records explain its full use. No glyphs decode its purpose. But within that chamber, a silence remains that speaks louder than history. It is thought that during times of drought or war, the Aztecs returned here into the belly of their temple, not just to give, but to ask, and perhaps to listen. Even now, when the dig sites close for the day, some workers leave offerings, flowers, a coin, a breath of copal smoke to honor what was found. And so the mystery of the sunken offerings is not solved. It is still unfolding. But we shall rise now gently from these depths. Let us emerge slowly into light again, into the airy chambers of the palace, where the elite moved with grace and ritual. A different world, above the chinampas and far from the depths, and yet just as revealing. The elite rituals of the Tlatoni's court. Now, step gently through a carved stone doorway into the refined hush of the palace. Here, the air is different, cooler, tinged with copal and the faint perfume of crushed petals. The pace of life is slower, more measured. Each movement holds meaning. Every word is a whisper wrapped in ritual. It is dawn again, but not the muddy dawn of the chinampas. Here, the day begins with ceremony. Servants light incense burners and place them near the sleeping chambers of the nobility. Feathered headdresses bright with quetzal plumes, hummingbird feathers, and turquoise beads are laid out on polished stone benches. You are not a farmer now. You are an observer in the inner sanctum of the elite. In the calm stillness, priests chant softly to the rising sun, their voices rising in harmony with the smoke curling into the sky. Ritual dancers move slowly across marble floors, their bare feet a quiet rhythm against the polished surface. The Tlatoani's court is adorned with luxury, yet not the luxury of wasteful indulgence. Everything here holds symbolism. The cacao drink sipped from obsidian cups is not just refreshment, it is sacred, bittersweet, a mark of nobility. The jewelry worn gold-studded ear spools, necklaces of jade and shell signals lineage, power, and divine favor. Food, too, is elevated to ritual. The morning meal may include amaranth cakes shaped like deities, tamales filled with rare ingredients, and sauces ground by moonlight. Scribes record not just law, but poetry, philosophy, and celestial omens. The elite do not farm, but they cultivate knowledge, tradition, and cosmic order. Children of noble birth are not raised in comfort alone. From a young age, they attend the Kalmakak, a rigorous school reserved for the upper classes. Here, by torchlight and under the careful eye of priests, they memorize poems of their ancestors, map the stars' movements, and study the sacred calendar. Education is not rushed. It is a gradual unfolding, a lifelong walk through wisdom. Lessons are sung, not shouted. Ideas are etched into memory like glyphs into stone. As the day progresses, the court becomes a stage for diplomacy and ritual. Dignitaries arrive, carrying tribute bright feathers, cacao, obsidian, cloth. Meetings are held beneath carved lintels where every gesture is observed, every silence meaningful. The Tlatoani listens more than he speaks. When he does speak, it is measured, slow, wrapped in metaphor and tradition. His words shape alliances, dictate rituals, and preserve harmony. Evening approaches, and the palace quiets. Oil lamps flicker along the hallways. On a stone altar, priests lay offerings, blossoms, polished stones, and droplets of sacred water. Musicians gather in shaded courtyards, plucking at turtle shell instruments, their melodies soft as wind through reeds. Chants begin anew. They are not loud. They are not demanding. They are soft, repetitive, ancient. You may feel, if you are still awake, a sense of rhythm, not of time ticking away, but of time circling like the great Aztec calendar itself. The elite did not simply live above others, they lived in alignment with a sacred order. Their rituals were not a performance, but a tether to the gods. And now the court grows silent. It is time to leave this place of still feathers, soft chants, and shadowed elegance. Let us return to the present. But before we part ways, let us reflect. You have wandered through the misty dawn of the chinampas, felt the weight of power in Moctezuma's troubled court, descended into the mysteries of sunken offerings, and risen again to witness the solemn rituals of the Aztec elite. Tenochtitlan no longer floats on Lake Texcoco, but its echoes remain in the rhythm of poetry and the silence of obsidian mirrors and the quiet persistence of memory. As you drift into sleep, may the hush of these ancient voices guide you gently through the night. Rest well. Good night.